Hey, everybody, it's Cara with the She's the Owner podcast. We are on episode 79. It's been a minute since I recorded a podcast. I've been super wrapped up in the Tony Robbins world for the last probably, 3 weeks now. So I crewed Unleash the Power Within. That was my second time crewing that event virtually. And then I just finished crewing Date with Destiny. So I want to chat. That's what I want to chat about. I don't know. So if you're able to comment or reach out to me and just let me know whether it's through the video or through the podcast itself, let me know if you've gone to this event. This is my second time witnessing the event. The first time I did it, I was a participant. So this time I was crew. And so because crewing virtually is so different than crewing in person, as crew members, we are able to get sort of enjoy more of the content than we would in person. In person, you're running around and doing a whole bunch of things. So it was pretty cool. So here was my first distinction was I often question myself whether or not I've done enough. Okay. So question myself if I've done enough work on me and or have I done enough that I can see changes, like, let's say since last year, because as you know, I do a lot of personal development work. I'm a life and business coach. So I'm always trying to hone my skills and do things that are going to help my clients moving forward. But there's definitely times when I'm looking around and I'm thinking, have I really shifted? Have I really done anything? And the Date with Destiny, like doing it this time or crewing it and watching it really, really showed me that I definitely have shifted. And that's encouraging for me because as somebody who wants to have such a huge impact on the world and somebody who, I work hard to make sure that happens. I often find myself like with that question, am I doing enough or how can I do more? Which leads me to what my primary question was before I did the work on it this time. So in 2019, when I went to Date with Destiny, the very kind of first thing we start working on is what's your primary question? So what's the question that you ask yourself all the time? And mine was, how can I save everybody? So obviously that's a tall freaking order and it's stupid. Like what, uh, like there's so many reasons why that question did not serve me. I was always stressed out anytime I would talk to somebody, whether it was friends or family, I would definitely go into coaching mode because I'm trying to save everybody. And that's just sort of what my mind would end up going toward. So I left that event with the question of how can I show people what real freedom looks like? Super different question. And it's really served me this year because anytime I'd start to think, how can I save that person? I would immediately start to think, no, I'm not here to save them, first of all. Second of all, that exhausts me. And what if they don't want to hear from me, blah, blah, blah. So what can I do instead? Well, I can show them what real freedom looks like. And freedom to me is managing my own schedule, being able to go do whatever I want, whenever I want, all these different things. So that's what I focused on last year. So coming into this Date with Destiny, I was like, do I have a different question? Is there something else that might not be serving me? Blah, blah, blah. And there was. So my new primary question coming into it this time was, how can I do more? How can I be a better mom? How can I be a better friend? How can I be a better or do more as a friend, do more as a mom, do more as a business owner, do more as blah, blah, blah. And what that robbed me of was appreciating what I actually had already done. How can I contribute more? I'm in the growth, like in terms of business, I'm in a growth mode, right? So I don't have tons of money to give away yet. And so I'm always thinking, oh, what can I do more? Da, 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 da. And so that question has been very stressful for me, obviously. And so now my question is, how can I appreciate and love even more all the ways I contribute and do right now? And I'm looking down. If you're watching the video, or if you're on the podcast, you won't see this, but in the video, you'll see it. So as crew, we were allowed to do this exercise with everybody else and print out these posters. I did at the live event, you do it on a real poster and they bring markers around. It's really, really fun to do it in person as well. But my new question is, how can I appreciate and love even more the ways I contribute and do right now? And that's a way more empowering question. Why is that more empowering? Well, because I'm not sitting here beating myself up constantly about what I'm not doing, how I'm not fulfilling my destiny. I'm not sitting here beating myself up. That's the biggest clue. And I already do a ton of things. I already contribute. I do free coaching for people sometimes. I have a free Facebook group and I contribute to that. Like, there's lots of ways that I'm doing things, doing more. And one of the other parts that we do is building your values. You're toward, so you've got two sets of values. And this is like pretty advanced in terms of, if you've never done a Tony Robbins event, it won't make as much sense to you. The process it takes a couple of days to kind of refine it and get to it. And certainly if you've only done Unleash the Power Within, which is his sort of like the signature event, then you're definitely not going to get into the value structure. You will get into your belief structure, which is equally important. I always say UPW is sort of like the kindergarten, and Date with Destiny is university. So at UPW, you really discover what you're doing that's fucked up. And Date with Destiny, you discover why you're doing what's fucked up. So it's really good to know what you're doing, but you also want to know why you're doing it. And so that's what I feel that Date with Destiny is so powerful at. So the values structure, my last like, I don't even know so you start with what you think your list of values are. And mine was like, so here's an example of why my life was kind of upside down at this point. I had a freedom value and I had a companionship value. So what we end up doing is you give the rules for what is the rule in order for me to feel freedom? What is the rule in order for me to feel companionship? So my first pass at it was, in order for me to, and I chuckle about it because it's so insane, but freedom was my number one, companionship was my number two. That was my hierarchy. So freedom, what is the rule in order for me to feel freedom? Well, I have to be single. Okay, move down the list. Companionship. What is the rule in order for you to feel companionship? I have to be married. So if you're paying attention, that's a massive exact opposite contradiction. There's no way both of those things can happen. So no wonder I was feeling so much conflict in my mind. So I worked through them. I created a new list. Freedom was still on the list for my final pass at it. And the ways I would feel freedom moving forward from last year were, being an entrepreneur, I feel an immense amount of freedom. Getting my nails and my hair done, I can go get that done whenever I want. And here's the trick of that. Like, once upon a time, getting my hair done, like, spending $100 or $200 on my hair was a huge stretch. Once upon a time, getting my nails, I would have to budget that for a few weeks before I would have the money to go spend the $50 on my nails. Now I can do whatever I want. I can go whenever I feel like it. So it may seem like a small thing, but to me, it's like a beautiful, it's just a nice for me to look back and appreciate that financially. Do I want to do more? Absolutely. But I'm very lucky. I'm able to do kind of whatever I want within reason. And I want that within reason to be even higher. And that's the purpose of the next year for me. But I'm lucky. Like, those are ways that I feel free, because I remember a time when I couldn't do those type of things. If I want to go and spend a few $100s on something, I don't have to wait. I can do it. And that's beautiful to me. And that's freedom. But I still had freedom on the list. And so companionship was another one. So companionship for me was like, if I was in a marriage, well, my marriage was over at that point. And so how am I going to feel companionship if I'm not married or in a relationship? Well, I'm not going to. So I renegotiated, and the rules were things like, if I spend time in nature, I will feel companionship. If I spend time with my friends, I'll feel companionship. If I spend time with my pets or my children. So so you basically rebuild how you're going to feel, what you're supposed to, what you want to feel in order to have this extraordinary life. So now I'll go through it quickly. My toward values. So the values that I'm trying to achieve, the ones that I'm going toward, are contribution is number one for me now. This last year has really shown me how deeply important it is for me to contribute. I've always wanted to contribute. I have a mission to send women to UPW, although that's going to shift in the next year. There's going to be some changes there, but contribution is so huge for me. It's so important for me. One of my goals, I'll share it with you in a second, but It's all around contribution. So now if I'm going to Tony Robbins events or crewing Tony Robbins events, so these are my rules now, or coaching people for free at times, or spending time with friends and family, just being present. Those are ways that I can contribute. Growth was my second one. So going to personal development events, or learning at home, or growing my business, or trying new things that scare me. So now I have new rules as to why or how I'm going to feel the value of growth. And they're not restricted, and they don't necessarily rely on other people. Companionship, spending time with my family, or time with my pets, or spending time with a good book. Passion, dancing or dates with a lover, or growing She's the Owner. Adventure. So this is a big one. This was a big aha moment. Like, I always talk about adventure, but I'm not intentional about it. And it's a really important value to me. And now I'm just intentionally thinking about it. And I'm going to find ways to really fulfill that. So driving around my town, it sounds hilarious. My daughter and I, when we were talking about it earlier, we laughed. It sounds so silly, but it's true. It's one way that I can feel a sense of adventure. Writing a story. I used to write for fun. Some of you know I have a content writing company, and so I don't do any of the writing. I do all the content creation for She's the Owner, but I don't do any for for my actual content writing company. But I'm good at it, and I like it, and I haven't written a creative story in a very long time. So that's one way that I can feel adventure. Or reading a book, or traveling. Right, traveling is definitely on the top of that list, but let's be realistic. That's not an option right now. But that's still in there, but there's still other ways that I can achieve the feeling and value of adventure. And then finally, love. So looking at my children, or loving humanity. There's so many beautiful things that happen in this world, and I'm just lucky to see it, but I need to be intentional about it. Or meditation. I feel much deep love when I meditate, because typically when I do my meditation, I'm sending, when I'm done and I'm wrapping it up and I'm feeling I'm kind of going into gratitude, I will definitely think about all the beautiful things and just feel a deep sense of love. So then there's the away values. And the away values are the things that you will do everything in your power to avoid feeling. So for me, it's not belonging. So that's a huge value of mine that I work really hard to avoid. Abandonment and failure. So now, for me, those three things, the rules around them were crazy. Like, in order for me to feel like I didn't belong, I would have to not be included in family things. If my friends didn't include me, because I don't have my own friend group, I'm a satellite friend. And I've always been that way since high school. Like, I wouldn't have necessarily my own clique, but I would be part of everyone else's, because I like to move around and I like to be a part of everybody's. Like, I was never snobby in any way. I just wanted to be buddies with every group. There was the jocks, there was the goth people, there was like alternative people and all that. And I didn't give a shit. I just liked everybody. So I was like the satellite friend. But over time, that's created a thing where I don't have my own core group. I'm part of many, many groups, but that would make me feel like I didn't belong somewhere. And truth be told, when I was younger and my parents were still alive, and there was, I talk about the alcoholism, etc. I never felt like I belonged in that family, because I always looked at the situation like, I know this is wrong and what's happening here doesn't gel with me. And so because I was opinionated about it, I was kind of pushed out of the family in terms of like, I just didn't feel like I belonged. A lot of that's probably my projection and my shit, but that's how I felt. So now, so you kind of have to word it. It's a bit tricky, but only if I were to consistently focus on the illusion that I'm not supported and that I don't have several group friends that love me and that I'm a part of, will I feel the value of not belonging. Abandonment. So you say it's only if I were to consistently focus on the X, Y, and Z, that's when I would experience this feeling. So for abandonment, only if I were to consistently focus on the illusion that I am not truly connected to God and spirit at all times and cannot be abandoned, will I experience abandonment. And then failure. So failure, I mean, when I look at my bank account, feel like a failure. When I don't do things I say I'm going to follow through with, I feel like a failure. When I look at myself naked in the mirror, I feel failure. Like, let that sink in, ladies. I mean, that's a terrible thing to say. How goddess-like is that? It's not. And I always say I'm not perfect, and I'm always working through this shit with you guys as much as you're doing it yourselves and with us, with me in the group. But this is real. I'm not ever going to be full of shit. I'm always going to say it the way it is. And that was one way that I looked at failure. So now it's, if I were to consistently focus on the illusion that I'm not doing enough, will I feel like a failure? I'm taking my health I've always taken my health seriously, but I'm taking it extra seriously. I've done that hormone testing, so things are working out there. So why am I looking in the mirror like that? Why am I feeling like a failure when I look in the mirror? It's ridiculous. So now if I focus on that negative side of it, I'm going to continue to feel that value. But now I have a new version. I have a new story. So you focus on that. Then we do our power virtues, our top 4 1-year goals, and then your relationship vision. And lastly, your mission statement. And that mission statement, if you're not on the video and you're watching this on the podcast, I would encourage you to go watch the video of this as well, but you can see it on the top here. So my mission, and so you start with your name. So I, Cara, see, hear, feel, and know that my mission in life is to lead by example and change the world. And I say that with such deep conviction, no one could question whether or not that was really my mission, because it is. So our power virtues are, exactly that. So my power virtues are, I am free, I am a goddess, I am powerful, and I'm playful. And that was really fun. And part of the exercise is you have to holler that with every piece of an ounce of you until the rest of your team believes you. And some people went for a couple of hours. Even at my date with Destiny, I knew I didn't want to have to redo this. Like, we had to say our values out loud, say our away values out loud, do all this stuff, work with a group of 5 people out loud. And I knew I didn't want to do that. So I made sure I did it with every fucking thing I had, so that my team gave me a hell yes the first time. Because if you get a hell yes, you move on to the next person. So my top 4 1-year goals: join Platinum Partners. If you're part of the Tony community, you know what this means. If you're not, it's basically just a membership, typical of a mastermind. Plus you get to go to all the events for the year and all these other perks, but that's a huge top goal for me, and that's going to happen for sure. Grow my company to 6 figures, move into a house that I love. That's a huge one. And the one that I'm not maybe the most excited about, but I'm really excited about, is pay off my BMW and gift it to somebody. That feels like such a beautiful thing to do. And I mean, when I say gift it, I'm talking a single mom who would normally not be able to get approved for a car, and just give it to her. That was me. I had the hardest time getting a vehicle when I was a single mom and I was young, and it fucked my head up so severely, and it's just a car. So that's one of my goals. And lastly, my relationship vision. My ideal relationship is one with absolute adventure and passion. We are both Plats, and we work in alignment with our missions to help the world on a deep level. I worship his king and he worships my queen. We are playful and growth-minded. And that's it. So that, I will dig into a couple other things on another episode. I don't want to keep this one going too long, but yeah, Date with Destiny, it was amazing. And I would love, if you have questions, reach out to me. I'm going to do a blog post on this as well. But until next time, I love you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll talk soon. Bye.